I've been involved in telecommunications most of my business career, vice president of sales or marketing of different firms. I found myself with a unique set of skills because I had experience in all aspects of telecommunications. We found ourselves being most successful in the governmental market. We focused on state governments and their desire and necessity to install large fiber optic networks around their states for both communications, distance learning, emergency services, all aspects. I had the opportunity, of course, to live anywhere I wanted. And so I decided to relocate to Park City, Utah because my son, Joe, had made the United States ski team. I lived there a few years and then retired from the telecommunication consulting firm. But in retiring, you don't just stop work. You go on to new challenges.
One of the things that impresses me about Jim Pack is his attention to detail. Now, as I grew to know Jim Pack and lived next to him as a neighbor, played a lot of golf with him, I was impressed with the fact that, number one, he was able to retire at age 43 and live in a pricey community like Park City. I had the good fortune to work with a lot of very talented people in a lot of major Fortune 500 companies, and Jim would thrive in any environment you put him in.
I'd known Vertus for about 8 years. We were neighbors in Park City. We found that as we got to know each other, we had a lot of things in common. We thought alike, we liked the same things. I'd never seen somebody with so much experience in the business community. He was trained by the best. He knew strategy. He was extremely competent. He was very ethical. I just never run into anyone in my career that met up to the standards that he presented.
I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah. I took a degree from the University of Utah, managed some stores for Safeway, and then ended up going to work for General Foods Corporation. I progressed through various jobs, ended up in White Plains, New York as a division sales manager in the beverage division, about $1 billion business. Went over to Dart & Craft in a company called Hobart, and I went over as a VP of sales and service. Did that for 2 years and ended up running Hobart US. And I came back to Kraft General Foods and was asked to run a consolidated group of companies that they'd put together. They were trying to find out if one person could run all of the companies that Philip Morris had bought more efficiently than all the companies could run themselves individually. They've been trying for about 1.5 years to do that without success. We restructured, reorganized, and made some changes, and over the next 3 years we outperformed 17 business divisions every single quarter without fail by a factor of about twice the growth trend on the top line, twice the growth trend on the bottom line. After doing that for about 2 years, management started to ask why and how are you doing it. So I recommended that we bring in McKinsey and have them do a study and come back and give a report to the executive committee, if you will. They did that over about a 3 or 4 month period and came back and concluded that it was a better business model than the model that Kraft, Oscar Mayer, General Foods, Entenmann's, etc. was on. So they recommended that everything be folded together, but they do it over an extended period of time, 3 to 5 years. At that time, I was asked to go into the Kraft organization to sort of advise and help and do whatever. And when I got there, I was asked to consolidate things like category management, also to rework trade spending. We had about $1.3 billion that we were spending, and it was not very efficient. They wanted to see what could be done to fix that. So I did those, and then because of that, I think of the successes I had, I was asked to take a bigger responsibility, and that is to kind of re-engineer the company, if you will, in relation to ECR. ECR was Efficient Consumer Response, an industry initiative that had started about 1.5 years earlier, where all of the retailers in this country banded together and said, Walmart is more efficient than we are, and we as an industry need to become more efficient. About 2 years after we started, and we were making good progress, the company decided to have an early out retirement program. Now keep in mind that we had been consolidating all these businesses, we had extra bodies. So when I got that and saw what they were offering to people to leave, I was 56 years old, and I thought, man, this is pretty nice. I went home, talked to my wife, and said, we should take this. So I went back in, raised my hand, and said, we're going to take the early out retirement. And they said, no, you can't leave. So we sat down, talked about it, and they said, if you will stay 1 more year, here are the things we'll do for you, and you need to finish the job. So I stayed 1 more year, and when I left, we were in first place. So we had taken it from 10th to first place in 3 years. And I exited and came back to Park City, Utah. And after doing that, I was here only a short period of time, and the phone rang, and it was Kraft Europe, Kraft Jacob Suchard. About a $10 billion operation over there, and now they were doing ECR. It had spread from the United States over to Europe. They were about a year and a half behind the United States, but now they were engaged. For the next year to about a year and a half, I would fly over every few weeks, maybe 4 to 6 weeks, and meet with various people in Europe, and we did ECR for Europe.
Vertus is a pretty impressive guy. If you really get to understand his background, he is the top of the top in terms of CEO material for America. He has rubbed shoulders and has been mentors of some of the best CEOs in America.
I was asked to sit on a board of a small company that had been working on a technology for about 15 years. Numerous patents, a lot of research, and they were actually producing a product using salt and water. And when they told me that, they wanted me to go on their board. I said, well, you're going to have to convince me that this is real. And they said, we have a lot of research, extensive research, $10 or $15 million worth of research. The company that owned it was publicly traded, and they merged that company with an energy company, and after a period of time, 6 or 7 months, they started selling off assets.
When Vertus and I were on the golf course in Park City discussing the different business opportunities, and he let me know that he was on the board of directors and there was this opportunity that was coming up on a product that he thought was wonderful.
But I told him, I said, you know, they have something here that they don't know what it is. And it's a lot more than they think, but they haven't figured it out. And I said, I'm tempted to put a group together. In fact, I think I am going to put a group of investors together, and I'm going to take a run at the company.
Well, that was my opportunity. I pulled out my wallet and pulled out a check out of the wallet, and Vertus, whatever you need, we're going to do this.
And he reaches in his pocket, pulls out his wallet, unfolds a check, kind of dog-eared, and he wrote this check out for a very big amount of money, and he said, there's more behind that, let's go put an offer in. And I said, are you serious?
Now, I didn't know anything about the product or the company, but I knew Vertus, and I was betting on Vertus. I knew that Vertus had done his research. I knew that Vertus was not going to lose.
When we finally determined how ASEA worked and what it did, we were confronted with a decision that we had to make. We said, you know, we could potentially make this into a network marketing product. We stabilized the product, we can put it in a bottle. We don't know if that's the right way to take this product.
We were giving the product to people to try, to see if they would take the product. We went through a lot of what we call focus groups to see if people would actually take this regardless if they liked the taste or didn't like the taste, or if it helped them, or how quick it helped them.
After 2.5 months, we decided to go out and do an assessment of the 40 people that we had given the product to. And when we went out to do an inventory, we found out that the 40 people had turned into 135 people. And not only that, the product had gone to 20 different countries. When people found out what it was doing for them, they didn't hesitate to shoot it off to foreign countries, wherever they happen to be, Egypt and South America and Europe, and then come back and say, I just need more product.
And as we gave the product to different people, we found that it really increased their quality of life. People that were seriously challenged. And it just gave us a sense of purpose. You know, we wanted to start a business. We were both fairly well successful financially. We didn't need more money. And we found that we wanted to make a mark. We found something that was much bigger than either Vertus or myself.
We called a company back east in New Jersey, and after a number of discussions, he said, the CEO of that company said, I'm going to send 4 people out on the plane, and I want you to meet with them and show them everything you've got, and we'll decide what it is we're going to do if we do anything together. So he sent 4 people out on the plane. We met from 8:30 in the morning until about noon, and then they started getting on the phone to New Jersey, and that went on for another couple hours, and finally they came in and said, okay, we're convinced you have something extraordinary here, and we're prepared to write you a check big enough that you won't want to talk to anybody else, and then we'll put our heads together and decide what it is we're going to go forward with. And they said, the one issue though, you've got 135 people using this product. They didn't know how many, but they said, you got all these people using the product, and you've got to get them off the product right now.
We were firmly convinced, and personally, each of us were convinced that it was a marvelous product, and could do a lot of good, could help a lot of people. And with that backdrop, we made decisions on what we were going to do with the product.
And I said, well, I have concerns about the health and well-being of a number of these people if they come off the product. And they said, and in fact, I said, I have grave concerns. And they said, forget it. If you want to work with us, just close it all down. So we said, well, we'll let you know what we're going to do. And that night we sat in a room and decided the right thing to do with this product is take it into network marketing.
We feel a real strong obligation that our task is to make this available the best we can worldwide to help people.
My wife questions why I'm doing this. She said, you've retired more than once and it's time for you to join me and let's enjoy the golden years, if you will. But recently my son asked me to come down and join he and his family, and we went to a church gathering, and there was something going on he wanted us to be a part of. And while we were there, a young lady came up and he introduced me to this young lady, and she broke down and started sobbing. And she had a health challenge in her family that was really severe, and she was introduced to ASEA, and because of what ASEA did, she was just grateful. So I find it hard to talk about, but that's a reason.